Hello, my name is Bryce, and this is my channel Striving Intellect. And today I'm going to talk about something that I think is really fascinating and could specifically affect humanity as a whole in a very dramatic way. And right now I have a picture of what is an infected mosquito pulled up. And this mosquito is actually infected with a man-made fungus STD that's been genetically engineered in order to specifically affect only mosquitoes, in order to basically exterminate large swaths of the mosquitoes that carry diseases. And it looks pretty gnarly, I'm not going to lie. But mosquitoes, as many people know, are the most dangerous animal in the world because they carry diseases, and over 600,000 people die from it annually. So every year, more than 600,000 people die from mosquitoes, which again makes them the most dangerous animal in the world. So this is a very important thing. Although the idea that they're basically creating a bioweapon to only affect mosquitoes is a very dramatic way of specifically handling this. It's just like, and this is something that researchers have gone after before, but it's very similar to when they were sterilizing mosquitoes. So, generally speaking, it's pretty apparent that mosquitoes have a massive effect on a large swath of the population. But that being said, maybe hitting them with a bioweapon, specifically a fungus STD, where they say it's only going to affect mosquitoes, may be a pretty radical and extreme way of actually going after these mosquitoes, just like sterilizing them. Generally speaking, genetically modifying either animals or diseases in order to create what is, for lack of a better word, a bioweapon against the mosquitoes is extreme, obviously. But I'm going to read through this. There is a study through the University of Maryland. This is actually on sci.org. I'm going to read this real quick, and then I'll probably go through a couple more articles, but let me just go through this real quick. Scientists develop mosquito STD to combat malaria. And as you can see, this is a picture of them testing it. A team of researchers, including a University of Maryland entomologist, has successfully turned a pesky mosquito's sex life into its downfall by creating what amounts to a sexually transmitted disease specifically for mosquitoes. The scientists unveiled a potentially powerful new weapon against global fight against malaria. Published in the Journal of Scientific Reports earlier this year, the team's study reveals how this innovative approach to exploits the mosquito's mating behavior to deliver a deadly fungal infection to female mosquitoes, the ones responsible for biting and spreading diseases. Yes, so by the way, the only ones that actually bite and are parasitical are specifically the females. They're also obviously the ones that lay eggs. But I'll go on. The researchers' invention could have wide-ranging implications for controlling malaria, which kills over 600,000 people annually, with children under 5 in sub-Saharan Africa bearing the heaviest burden. In recent years, progress to fight malaria has slowed as mosquitoes developed resistance to chemical treatments, and mosquito-borne parasites became more resistant to anti-malarial drugs. Here's a quote right here. It's essentially an arms race between the mosquitoes and us, explained study co-author Raymond St. Ledger, a distinguished university professor. Just as they keep adapting to what we create, we have to continuously develop new creative ways to fight them. One reason combating mosquitoes and deadly diseases they can likely carry is so difficult is due to how quickly the pests adapt to control methods. As traditional indoor mosquito repellents like bed nets and spraying improved in efficiency over time, mosquitoes learn to avoid them by heading outside and lying in wait to feed instead. To target these hard-to-reach mosquitoes, the researchers engineered a naturally occurring fungus called metarhizium to produce insect-specific neurotoxins that kill when injected into a female mosquito's body. By spraying male mosquitoes with fungal spores, scientists could ensure the spread of the fungus to female mosquitoes the males mated with. In tests conducted in Burkina Faso in West Africa, the team found that 90% of female mosquitoes died within 2 weeks of mating with males carrying modified fungus, compared to only 4% mortality in a group without the modified fungus. It's a massive difference. Though the modified metarhizium fungus is deadly to female mosquitoes, it is harmless to humans. I mean, that's good. Obviously, there's historical precedent for bloodborne diseases to be transferred from animal to animal. Obviously, that's rarer, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. Even something that could be considered a STD, like, I don't know, HIV, for example. But I digress, and I'll continue reading. Again, that looks gnarly. They basically turned into a fungi mosquito, which is horrifying. And I truly hope that something like that would not be transferable to human beings, because obviously that would be extremely bad. Again, it's not out of the realm of possibilities for diseases and fungus to adapt or evolve. But again, I digress and I will go on. What makes the fungus particularly promising is that it works with existing mosquito behavior rather than against their natural habits, said St. Ledger. Unlike pesticides or other chemical control methods that mosquitoes can develop resistance to, this method uses the mosquito's own biology to deliver the control agent. Researchers also observed that the male mosquitoes treated with the fungus transferred deadly fungal spores to female mosquitoes for up to 24 hours after initial exposure. Thus, male mosquitoes treated with the fungal strain could be released into the environment and continue spreading the fungus through multiple mating encounters. So, quote, interestingly, we noticed that the presence of fungus did not deter female mosquitoes from mating with infected males. Mating rates stayed the same, which makes the fungus a very powerful mosquito population control tool. And the fungus additionally made infected mosquitoes less able to sense insecticide and much more susceptible to them. So it's really a double blow against them. Yeah, all of that is great. I think that generally speaking, mosquitoes are extremely dangerous, although they're obviously a part of the ecosystem. So generally speaking, if you're going to just eliminate something from an ecosystem, there's always going to be some effect. There are animals that eat them, like bats and frogs and other things like that, lizards, spiders. So generally speaking, there's always going to be a side effect. There's a cause and effect to everything. But I do think it's fascinating that they found something like this and basically engineered a STD bioweapon against mosquitoes. But I also thought this was pretty interesting as well. This is just a short article about basically eliminating malaria from the mosquitoes. So maybe an STD bioweapon that was developed to specifically infect mosquitoes with STD fungus is a little bit extreme in my opinion, and there's obviously, let's say, theoretically things that could go wrong for sure. But here's another way that they're thinking about actually specifically going after the malaria inside of the mosquitoes. So this is on the BBC. Scientists propose novel way of treating mosquitoes for malaria. So this would be specifically getting rid of the malaria parasites from the mosquitoes. And so let me just read through this real quick. Okay, so mosquitoes should be given malaria drugs to clear their infections so they can no longer spread the disease, says U.S. researchers. Malaria parasites kill nearly 600,000 people a year, mostly children, and spread by female mosquitoes when they drink blood, which again, they are the ones that are the parasites specifically and lay the eggs. Current efforts aim to kill mosquitoes with insecticide rather than curing them of malaria, but a team in Harvard University has found a pair of drugs which can successfully rid the insects of malaria when absorbed through the legs. Coating bed nets in the drug cocktail in a long-term aim, sleeping under a bed net has been one of the most successful ways of preventing malaria as the main malaria-spreading mosquitoes hunt at night. Vaccines to protect children living in high-risk malaria areas are also recommended. Nets are both physical barriers and also contain insecticides which kill mosquitoes that land on them. But mosquitoes have become resistant to insecticides in many countries so that the chemicals are no longer kill the insects as effectively as they used to. We haven't really tried to directly kill the parasites in the mosquitoes before this because we were just killing the mosquitoes, said Dr. Alexandra Probst from Harvard. However, she says that approach is no longer cutting it. The researchers analyzed malaria's DNA and to find a possible weak spot while it's infecting the mosquitoes. They took a large library of potential drugs and narrowed it down to the short list of 22. These were tested when female mosquitoes were given blood meals contaminated with malaria. In their article in Nature, the scientists describe 2 high effective drugs that kill 100% of parasites. The drugs were tested on material similar to bed nets. Even if the mosquitoes survive contact with the bed net, the parasite within them was killed, so it's not transmitting malaria. I think this is really exciting approach because it's a totally new way of targeting mosquitoes themselves. So theoretically with this, the mosquitoes would still have insecticides that may kill them, but there's also a secondary drug that could kill the malaria parasite within the mosquito. She says malaria parasites is less likely to become resistant to the drug as there are billions of them in each infected person, but less than 5 in each mosquito. The effect of drugs lasts for a year on the nets, potentially making it a cheap and long-lasting alternative to insecticides, researchers say. They're probably not as bad for you as insecticides either. I would assume that insecticides, being a poison, are probably pretty bad for people. This approach has been proven in the laboratory. The next stage is already planned in Ethiopia to see if anti-malarial bed nets are effective in a real world. It will take at least 6 years before all studies are completed to know if this approach will work. But the vision is to have bed nets treated with both anti-malaria drugs and insecticides, so that if one approach doesn't work, then the other will. And I think this is a much more measured and less extreme way to deal with this, other than the other way that I spoke about a second ago, which was basically infecting the mosquitoes with a parasitical STD bioweapon, which again I think is extreme and probably a pretty I'm not going to say the worst way of handling it, but it's definitely not the most measured way of handling it. It seems like a pretty radical approach to this. And again, mosquitoes are very deadly, the most dangerous animal in the world. They kill 600,000 people a year. But again, maybe developing a bioweapon STD to infect the mosquitoes with fungus is probably a pretty extreme thing to do. And again, it's not out of the realm of possibility for blood transmitted diseases or even STDs to transfer from different animals. So that being said, I thought this was really interesting. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please like and subscribe.